Alright, what's up everybody? I haven't done any setup videos in a while, so I thought I would go out and update some of my older setups. I have learned a lot, changed a lot of things, maybe not getting a whole lot faster, but definitely I think getting a little bit better on the long runs, a little more stable, a little easier to drive, and so I thought this is a good one to really use some updating. Las Vegas custom setup for the truck series. I have ran a 31 flat with this setup. I really think it's got a 30.9 in it. I just haven't quite hit all the marks right. But let's see if I can get a decent lap here on video for you guys. And if I can get a decent lap, then we will talk about how I get around Vegas. And we will also obviously go to the garage, show the setup, and talk about that. But first, let's try to get a decent lap on video. That was how I want to run turn one, right there, right down at the bottom of the racetrack, on that white line. Pretty much how I want to run turns 3 and 4 too. This might be something good here. Let's see what we got here. Come on. Hope that stopwatch is good to me here. 30.947. There we go. I knew this setup had it in there. So, with that being said, let's talk about how I am getting around Vegas here. Coming down here into turn 3 and 4, okay? There is a white line across the track that you're going to hit right about here that you can see. That is my mark right here, kind of, or maybe just a touch before, but that's where I want to hit turn 3 and 4. That's where I am entering it. And then as I get into the turn, I am driving it pretty deep into the turn. I'm trying to get to the bottom. Probably about here, I am lifting ever so slightly, but I say I am lifting, I am probably still 80 or 90% deep on the throttle. I mean, I am barely off the throttle, if I even lift at all. I'm not even sure I lift enough on the pedal to make it perceptible in the RPMs. Run that bottom kind of as long as you can, and then let that thing start drifting out to the edge here. And as it gets out to the edge, what I am looking at is I am looking at this, I guess you call it a V in the webbing. About here, this is where I want to get as close to the wall. This is as close to the wall as I'm going to get at any point on the front stretch, but right there is my mark for from here. I start bringing it down the track, and I am trying to get it down to the bottom, and then I'm actually going to run the apron across the start finish line here. But it seems like if you let the truck drift out to the wall coming off the corner, you get a great run down the front straightaway. You're not turning the wheel so hard, you're not wearing the tires, you're not scrubbing off speed. And then in turn 1, I kind of look at that Vegas sign that I just went by. If I can back up to it here. That is where I consider turn 1 to be starting, okay? So let me get the car to look, turn around here. Yeah, that to me is the start of turn 1 right there. So I am going to start turning the wheel there, but again, I am extremely hard on the gas. I've still got it to the floor, and I'm going to try to drive this thing right down to the bottom of the racetrack. And I am probably about at this point when I lift, but I am literally in the gas all the way, 100% full throttle, basically till I get the truck to the bottom of the track. Then I lift to let it rotate, and literally you're off the gas for not even a second. I don't think it's like lift your foot off the pedal, push it right back down, and then I ride the bottom for as long as I can around this corner before I let it drift out towards the wall. So let these trucks get by me here, and I will get out by the wall if I can get there without getting wrecked. I can see them coming. Inside. So I drift out to the wall coming down the backstretch, and that is how I get around Vegas. But let's go to the garage and let's look at this setup a little bit. Let's see. Okay, nothing real radical on the bumps and rebounds. One thing I've noticed is if you have a problem with the truck getting loose, like the middle of the corner, like as soon as you push the gas down, it wants to jump sideways on you, the right front bump setting seems to help that. Doesn't really make a lot of sense from a physics standpoint, but going up on that keeps the truck from getting loose if it's loose as soon as you touch the throttle. But not a lot to say here. The bump and rebound setting, nothing real radical. The front weight and wedge, this is probably about typical where I am running them, and you can't look at any one setup and say that wedge is too high or that front weight's too low or anything. They're pieces of a puzzle, so it all depends on how it all fits together. If you were running a different sway bar or a different track bar, you'd have to run drastically different front weight and wedges. So it's all about getting it all in balance. So you can never look at anybody's setup and say, you can't run a wedge that high or you can't run a wedge that too low. It's all about how it fits in with everything else. Springs are maxed out. That's pretty typical. Tire pressures, running way up on the tire pressures, and that's pretty typical of a mile and a half. You get a lot of speed by bumping those tire pressures up. Not running a real stiff front sway bar. I've gotten away from that. I used to run like a 1.675 at a bunch of places. Gotten away from that. I'm actually down to a 1.500. That's probably as low as I go anywhere on the front sway bar. But the trucks are so tight by nature that you can run a lower front sway bar like that to help loosen it up. If the truck starts getting loose on you on exit, go up on this front sway bar. Best cure I have found for a loose off condition, especially when it's a loose off on older tires, is go up on that front sway bar. One click makes a big difference. Two makes a huge difference. Track bars, I like to run the track bars maxed out. It seems like that helps the car turn and it gives you a lot of speed. I used to run really high grill tape because I thought it helped the straightaway speed, but I have learned that really that high grill tape isn't what makes your straightaway speed. It's the higher tire pressures that make the straightaway speed. The higher grill tape tends to make the car a little bit tighter when you're turning, and the other problem is if you got a whole lot of grill tape on there, and I'm talking 50 or 60%, if you ever are in a race where you get right behind somebody in a draft in the turn, it seems like you lose all the air off the nose and it gets really loose on you because, again, you're relying on that downforce, I guess, from the tape. And if you get close enough to somebody in the corner, you don't have it and it just gets loose. I started to run a lot lower wheel lock. The lower wheel lock, it seems like the wheel lock is how far left or right the wheels turn when you're turning the wheel. And it seems like this really helps managing stuff late and around. The car doesn't get as loose because you're not turning the wheel as far. And I've run a lot lower steering offset than I used to, and that is, it seems like lower steering offset helps the car turn in. And steering offset means when you've got the wheel straight, is that steering offset 0.05 means the wheels are actually turned slightly to the right. I really think they do this a lot for people who are on controllers so that you can just point the stick forward down the backstretch and don't have to keep constantly turning it to compensate for the banking on the straightaways. But I run a lot lower wheel set. It seems like lowering that wheel off or steering offset allows the car to turn in better, so I'm running it really low. Gear settings, nothing real radical here. That's a 110 with a 291, a 3-gear setup. I want to say that is, let me look it up real quick on the gear turtle. 110 with 291 is a 3.201. You can play around with that. I know some people run a 3.25 as a 4-gear setup. I know a 105 with a 3 is a popular 3-gear setup, but play around with it, see what you get as your best lap times. I think that's all I really got on this. Hope this works for you. Like I said, I think it's just a little bit more stable than the one I used to run. But good luck to you. I hope you win lots of races and run lots of fast laps. And with that being said, I will say have a good evening to y'all.